Portions have continued, of course, around Nigeria's economy, challenges, prospects, and of course the way forward. And today's topic, let me run through what's been discussed earlier today, setting an agenda for national productivity growth. That was discussed here earlier today, and of course expanding access to finance and driving growth across the middle markets. And a very interesting one too was with Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. Yes, when everyone hears Taiwo Oyedele, you know, is the chairman of the fiscal policy tax reforms of the federal government. That's committee, very important committee that we expect the tax laws to start implementation by January 2026. And he spoke extensively about the challenges and all that needs to be done to make sure it's seamless, how they'll reach out to Nigerians, awareness, correct all of the misconceptions and of course misinformation across the board with regards to this. So it's been a very interesting session and breakout sessions also on various rules.
So let me welcome all of you as part of Nigeria's foremost platform for public-private dialogue, driving a renewed promise to every Nigerian. So, from the tech house of Abuja to the all fields of
Nigeria, is the Chief Executive Officer of HA Consultancy. Thank you so much. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yes, good to see you in Abuja. Let me say that. Yes, and welcome to Abuja. I think we should start from the Vice President's speech yesterday. I would like us to take it from there, where he talked about improvements in Nigeria's oil and gas production. It's good news to hear that we're almost hitting 2 million barrels, but you know that there are still challenges. But your overview of the level of confidence coming back to that sector, crude oil theft being reduced almost to the barest minimum. How does all of this come to you as a major player in that industry?
Well, I think it's very good news. It's wonderful news for Nigeria. The more oil we can produce at this time, the more we can sell, the more revenue we can make. And reducing oil theft has been a critical focus of the government now. And I'm happy they're doing well on that as well. And the rig count has moved from 8 to 69, which is significant. Because at the point in time, we were living under 11 for a long time. So a lot of good reforms in the oil and gas sector, a lot of good work there, and a lot of good things that will still come up, yes. So, but I'm happy about the developments.
But there are challenges, you would agree with me.
There are a lot of challenges, yes. I mean, there is one sector alone can revive Nigeria, and the focus of this government is non-oil anyway, because oil is predictable. We're going to get 2 million barrels in another 2 years, all things being equal, all things working normally. But that's a global thing, and the dependencies of all crude oil prices are not within our control. So for me, that's good. But non-oil is where we should target more, and which is what we like to hear more. So when you heard about OJ, which you spoke about some time ago, talking about tax revenues, how much tax they'll get again, good thing about it as well. The other question is how well the money taken will be spent. And I like the question people asked about with more accountability, more transparency, better procurement rules, and more access to information and such. So it sounds nice. It sounds on a good trajectory. But the issues are still there, like security, the issues around others. And it was also interesting to hear the VP talk about Dangote and Pegasen, which I thought he shouldn't have talked about at all. Government shouldn't take sides. Government is government. But that's my personal view. Government should have let government be government. But it sounded a little bit pro a party when he spoke yesterday. And I thought that might send wrong signals to people, thinking they're invisible and they're all powerful. But that's my thoughts.
Let's stay a bit with the tax issues, and then we'll go back to the oil and gas industry. One very important thing that was raised here during Mr. Taiwo Oyedele's presentation was the issue of awareness and people really getting to know what's happening. Like I said yesterday during my presentation about the misinformation around the 44 tax that came up and was trending everywhere. And you gave an example of when bad news comes up, you see it trending 40,000, 50,000 views under a few minutes. But when you're trying to retract or address these issues, then you get to see just 50 likes and 60 likes. So what do you make? What do you think should be done more by this Taiwo Oyedele-led committee to pass this information rightly to Nigerians?
So they're doing a good job in communication. But you are in media. You don't chase the news. you are the news. Now, bad news can only flow when there's a space for it. Now, when there's no knowledge, people can create fictions and fantasies. Then start chasing. But when you have put out the right things there, over and over again, there will be no room for bad news. Because even the person put out bad news, either from willful ignorance, from mischief, will find it difficult to do that. So what they should do more is communicate more on simple terms. But you know, the point about this is this. There's also the part of trusting government, which is very low for many Nigerians. Until some implementation in January, we are not sure what will happen. Because the laws are there in many cases. But you see what happens in Abuja, for instance, where AMAC does what he wants to do. The laws are there. You have to spend all your time going to court every day to curb down AMAC. So we're hearing good news. We're hearing good conversations, but let them be the news. They shouldn't chase the news. They shouldn't be retracting or correcting. They should have put the facts out there. Then people don't have to start thinking, okay, what's the fact? We know the facts. We'll say, oh, here are the facts. So more of that, deepening that as well. And then speaking in a language people can understand. Again, some tax is a little bit high level for many people. So bringing it down to a level where people can understand it better might be good for us as well.
Back to our oil and gas industry, I think some of those taxes too have something to do with the industry. But let's take a step back to the Petroleum Industry Act, which is also something that we waited for a long time before it came into law. Finally, we have the PIA. But many have argued that the implementation of this law is still being not holistically taken. And many will say we'll still have challenges with the proper implementation of the PIA. Why do we have, can I call it, selective implementation in some cases with the PIA?
The truth nature of this is that the people that drafted the law are not the ones implementing the law. Now, in government, I think they always have an agenda. The agenda might not always be what is popular or what's unpopular. In my mind, I think the lack of willing to let go of control of the sector leads to this point mentioned of the PIA. Now, I've heard the rumors about changes proposed to the PIA. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me why you don't take assets from NNPC, give to NPRC. It makes no sense. It doesn't make sense to me why you want to take ownership of NNPCL, take it only to Mofi. It doesn't make any sense. A lot of things don't make any sense. But again, government will do what it does. And then when people now bring in their kind of interpretation to government space, the government will say, no, your misinterpretation, tell us why you're doing it. Same thing will happen with the tax bill as well. There will be that selective implementation. Taiwo says, oh, everybody's going to pay tax. Everybody's going to pay tax. The people that pay tax will pay tax. We don't go after some people. But that's what happens in government, which is why we always have problems. The PIA shouldn't be amended at the point in time when it has been implemented properly. Implement it properly first, then see if there are gaps there. Get it to do what it ought to do. Then not see whether it's a weakness of the law or weakness of implementation. My mind is implementation weaknesses based on selfish reasons.
Back to still staying with the oil and gas industry, and now we talked about refineries, which the vice president mentioned yesterday, saying Dangote has invested so much in this industry. But we also know that some other people got licenses for modular refineries and all of that. How are they faring with regards to coming to light with what is expected of them by the federal government?
So applause to Dangote for getting the refinery to where he got it to, based on all the odds he had to go through. That's something nobody can take away from him. He pushed a lot of barriers, broke a lot of rocks, and the refinery is there. Now, modular refinery in Nigeria is not as profitable now. It's not a very profitable venture for many reasons. Because a lot of them haven't got to the right pricing framework. So they can't produce products that really sell, like petrol, like aviation fuel and co. And then the economies of scale, and then the need to comply with the regulations of ECOWAS on sulfur removal is very expensive. So they don't have kind of funds there. So that's why they're struggling. But there are about 4 million refineries working in Nigeria now. Aradel, Water Smith, the one in Edo State, I can't remember the name, Benin refinery, what it's called, and then the one in Imo State. So we are there, but we're not there yet.
Crude oil production. Now we're talking about increase. But my own question as a layman would be, how well are local refineries also getting supply? We still know that Dangote still imports crude oil into the country. So if we are doing, say, 1,800, 1.8, I beg your pardon, 1.8 million barrels per day, how do you think, how can this supply get to our locals before we even talk about exporting?
Well, you must remember that the government has pledged a lot of their barrels for money. So the barrels being produced are not for the market. A lot of them are about 60% are meant to show up the loans they've taken. All their Project Eagle, Project Gazelle, Project whatever they've gone, all the barrels are committed to it already. Until about another 4 or 5 years' time, when government can take out their commitments and pay up their debts, we might still not have enough for local refineries and for Dangote. So it's not the fact that they don't follow the domestic crude supply obligations. The fact is that the oil is already pledged to for debts and loans.
So we have no choice than to just continue to try to ramp up and increase production?
2.5 million barrels, maybe at that point in time, there'll be more enough to give to Dangote and to the right.
But is that feasible?
Oh, it's feasible. Well, I mean, with the right framework, investment framework, with the right tax incentives, with the right fiscal framework, we will get there. I mean, this government on that level is not doing badly. They're working on the right direction. Just a little bit more and we'll get there.
So let's look at attractiveness now of Nigeria's oil and gas industry. We talk about making that industry more attractive, and that's why we have some of these laws. We have some executive orders even to help attract investment, which I think many says that works for us positively. So in your overall assessment, with of course the essay to the president, many have commended on what she's been doing, but tell us practically how that is impacting our industry, the bottom line at the end of the day.
Very positively. The executive orders she's developed with her team are quite good. The impacts are positive. It's helping gas to become more attractive to invest in. It's helping some products to get to FID. So the laws are good, and what she's doing is massive. But what needs to be done is they need to be included in the PIA. So we don't have a clash. So the fiscals that she's amended in the using executive orders are quite decent for investments. Bottom line, it's not bad. But one thing alone doesn't bring attractiveness of an investment. While you can do good physicals, you can do good tax recommendation, there are other things that are there. I mean, all theft is one area we're talking about. There's still conflicts in the data communities all the time. There are still areas like the Ogoni Entry, a very positive move by the president, opens more barriers for the Nigerian crude market, but there's still many things around there to fix. So we're not doing badly. It's a good thing.
Not doing badly. It's a good one. Well, let's look at this sub-team, part of the teams of this conference, strengthening institutions for sustainable impact. I'm looking at institutions now like the NNPCL, the institutions like the NMDPRA, which you mentioned, and all of them as meant to be implemented with the PIA. Do you think we are on track? What more can be done to strengthen these institutions? Now, in quotes, for impact.
Well, there are legacy issues both inherited. More of NMDPRA than NEPRC. NEPCL was DPR before. Yes. So DPR had a strong footing and foundation. We didn't really have a downstream regulator or midstream regulator. DPR was doing those parts of the job. Now, the agencies merged together for NMDPRA were not really regulators per se. They were either price regulators or bridging gaps financiers. So it's not the same thing. So they're on a track towards improving and getting to the point where they should get to. But we're not there yet. Now, the PRA prescribes what to do, but some things are not done because of the practicality of doing it. So, for instance, right staffing, right strengthening is very hard. It's quite difficult. But I'm sure we'll get there gradually. We're on the path.
We're on that part of getting there. As we wrap up this segment of the show, let's look at NES in its entirety. Coming here, year in, year out, series of discussions and all. I want to ask you what personally you make of it. Some would say, in some cases, are you sure it's not just another talk shop where we talk and we just leave again and we come back here in 12 months and continue talking? In your thoughts, what do you think is different about NES since you've been attending?
Nothing is different. What I thought was that we'll get the courage to take 5 years of NES and agree on what has been done and what has not been done. I heard a lot of talk about, from action to commitments. It doesn't happen that way. You have to review what you've done 2-3 years ago and where the gains have been. Because of the attractiveness of and lack of dialogue, people still come a lot. But if you had side conversations around, people are saying, what is the impact? And I mean, NES should pick about 4 or 5 critical areas and say, this is the critical areas we would support, and our dialogue will support, and we will make implementation. And that way, everything works well for everybody. But right now, I mean, we come here, we enjoy ourselves, we see each other, we network, we get cards, but nothing is happening really.
Now, almost finally again, that just came to me. The issue of pricing. Yes, I needed to ask you that. The issue of pricing is also something that you see major marketers, those still importing, having back and forth with regards to that. And tomorrow, Dangote Refinery comes up with a new pricing. As of today, stations getting petroleum products from Dangote Refinery are selling lesser than major marketers and all of it. Are we going to continue to see this disparity? What do you make of it? What does it mean for the industry?
In as long as pricing disparity is based on competition and innovation, that's fine. If you bring new innovativeness into a system, if you bring in new technology as well, and that can force your cost down, we should clap for price reductions on that. But if price reductions are the force our competitors, that's wrong. And that's not something we support. Now, what I think right now is they're all mutually bleeding because of the games they're all playing. They're playing a game that is mutually self-destruction as they're going along. But Nigerians now will applaud because we seem to be getting the best of it. But you see what will happen at the end of the day is that we might not be getting the best of it anymore. But I think Dangote is doing a good job in his own side. Marketers are doing a good job again, but let's stop the price wars. It's not helping anybody. All of you are losing money on this thing. It doesn't make any sense.
As we're moving to the last part of the year and the last quarter of the year, what would be your general projections for the oil market, crude oil market, and of course the entire economy? Many analysts like you agree that there seems to be a level of recovery, talking of Nigeria's economy. So what do you make moving ahead, moving forward? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think recovery is very good. I think we're almost turning the corner. We're not there on impact on the ordinary people. We are there on the fact of people seeing the numbers doing well in terms of, okay, numbers are well and everything. But we're also entering the critical part of Nigeria, the election period. Now, unfortunately, rather than normal, elections are earlier than usual. You find out that already, everybody's campaigning already. People are declaring for gubernatorial elections across states, which is not normal. Normally, it starts next year. So that campaigns can affect the economy. So government must take energy and focus to keep the economy on steer. Because there are times when now inflation is coming down now. When we get into core politics, we might not have this anymore. So it's stay focused on track, keep eyes on track. Then the biggest thing is translation of these gains in the macro to the micro. Let the people feel this thing has changed. Right now, it's not impacting Babatunde. Until Babatunde feels it, then we aren't getting there yet.
Like many would say, they're getting the macro right, but what about the micro?
The micro is important. Everybody has to feel this economy improving. I mean, food prices are going down, which is good, and I hope it stays down. That's a very good one. Transportation must find a way of going down as well, which is why we want Dangote to succeed. We want everyone to succeed in the oil and gas space to bring transport down. We should also find ways of all these tax reforms they're talking about. And I hear what Taiwo says regularly. One of the things killing every SME in Nigeria is multiple taxation. In Abuja, AMAC is a mess. Everything they do is nonsense. They have tax collectors who get high percentages and high collection for rubbish, for doing nothing. I mean, Wike is doing a good job. You should think about that as well. So it's not about building the roads alone. Ensure that people can survive and we can live. That for me is very important.
Interesting stuff. I've been speaking to Mr. Demola Henry Adigun, Chief Executive Officer of AHA Consultancy, giving his insights there, not just only about the oil and gas industry today, but of course about issues around the economy and topic sub-themes that have been raised at the ongoing NES 31. We'll keep bringing you up to speed with activities going on in here and of course in the other smaller halls here where series of conversations are ongoing. But let's take this break. Before we return, we had an interview with the Minister of Budget and National Planning, that's Mr. Atiku Bagudu. He spoke also extensively about what government is doing, issues around budgeting, issues around plans to address challenges, the fallout of these policies of government. Enjoy that interview and also a player and address agricultural sector before we'll come back and continue the conversation here in Abuja.
I think this is one of those very creative Nigerian experience that we believe even the world will benefit from copying, because even last year somebody remarked that if Africa can even have an Africa Economic Summit where private player and government and whole of society can really meet and agree about those choices that countries as well as continents need to make consistently and stay the course, then it will go a long way. The NESG has provided a platform where government, partnering through the ministry which I happen to lead now, and the private sector chart an engagement process where we interrogate policies, we improve policies, we pay attention to what is happening elsewhere in the world so that we can do better together, and also how to generate public support for those policies, because sometimes the policy choices are tough, especially in the last 2.5 years when our courageous, profound thinker president Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu say, let us do away with those policies that have been limiting us: fuel subsidy, forex market distortions, tax reforms that needed to be put in place, electricity reforms, and even doing one is tough in itself. Let's talk less of combining all of them together. Maybe it has never been done anywhere in the world, but because our private sector really believes these are necessary, though difficult choices, they were steadfast in their support, and we heard around the hall today how the results are being celebrated as they are being celebrated around the world, and the choices are being acknowledged. It's not a monologue. We are not claiming monopoly of wisdom in the government. We are saying, yes, here is what we are not on, and it's not like they took us totally by surprise, but what can we do better together? We were not unmindful of how those reforms will first, but like you are in a ship or in an aircraft, first you want to steady the ship to know that you are headed in the right direction rather than you are wobbling. So the president, that is what he led. Now we are confident. We have an economy that we can predict where it is headed. We are generating revenue where all the 3 tiers of government we know are better funded. So the thing is to encourage everyone to do more. We have announced a program which is revolutionary, having given the comfort of stabilizing and facing the right direction. We have now announced the creation of a renewed hope ward-based development program, which is about mapping the economic opportunities, the unique opportunities in all the 8,809 wards, and putting a program which is ward specific, in collaboration with the wards, in collaboration with the local governments, in collaboration with the state, in collaboration with the federal, in collaboration with the private sector, a whole of government approach that we will focus on each of those wards to ensure that they are doing better, they are generating more prosperity, they are generating more employment, more incomes are being generated, and the dreams of those living in those communities are being fulfilled. Mr. President has already announced it. The National Economic Council, which consists governors and the Alumni Association of Local Government, they're all on board. They all knew, they have all made inputs, and it has been announced. The launching will be anytime soon. The ministry is doing rigorous work.
We have put our feet to fire, and we've been doing a lot in the country, particularly with respect to policy formulation, advocacy, and the likes. So, as I said in 1 or 2 other fora, we believe in shared prosperity and a common humanity that takes care of everyone. Let everyone, no one be left behind. So sustainability is at the core, but we must make sure production is encouraged. Olam Agri, as you know, is the foremost player in the agribusiness value chain. So from seed to fork, from farm to fork, from seed to shelf. And then, of course, NES you are speaking to, NES, we are public-private partnership with governments. And for us, we try to tell government or guide government how it should move and how it should work in collaboration with the private sector. To that extent, government has been very serious. Government has been very, very strategic, very intentional, and very deliberate. And I think in the last 2 years or thereabouts, we have made a lot of progress, particularly in the area of food security. Like I said, what we need to move to is food sovereignty. But again, let me digress. Let's look at energy security. Prior to now, we used to produce around about 800, 900 barrels per day for export. Now we're doing in the neighborhood of about 1.8, 1.9. If you net off condensate, maybe 1.5, 1.6. Not bad. Are we doing well? Arithmetically, yes. Geometrically, we can do better. But again, from oaks, little acorns grow. So we are making progress. And I think that's a good start.
What's the outlook?
The outlook is, before now, we're doing 1-2 rigs. Now we're doing in the neighborhood of about 66 rigs. So those rigs are a barometer for measuring the quantum of development, of exploration, and exploitation of oil and gas. So I think looking at 2026 and 2027, we might end up doing between 2.5 and 3 million barrels. And again, a lot of our barrels, a lot of our forwards that we sold that were encumbered and the cash couldn't come in are now being released gradually. I was joking offset prior to coming on set that right now a lot of people are offloading their dollar positions and buying and generally investing in securities, money market, and the likes. So 1,541, 455. Monetary and fiscal policy alignment. One of the best things that happened to this economy. The government of President Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is working. Yes, I think so. I think we must give them time. You see, what I usually tell people is that at this point in time, we must understand that there will not be a regime change. The government in power will do its 4 years. If you're not happy, at the next election or at the next ballot, you can vote them out. But for me, what we should do right now is that we have a country, and we have a country to govern. We have people to feed. We have security to provide. Are we doing well in the Committee of Nations? Are we standing up to be counted? I think we are. ACFTA, 1.5 trillion economy-wise, 1.5 billion people, 55 countries. I think quantum leap, geometrically, we're not doing badly. Largest producer of cassava, largest producer of yam, largest producer of cocoyam. Food security, we're together. But government has no business in business. So government must allow private sector players, the likes of Olam, the likes of many other companies, flour mills, Wakot, and the likes, to do what they know how to do best.
Thank you so much. We're still live here from Abuja, where we are discussing discussions that have been raised in this room behind me. And like I said, other rooms are around the corner where a series of discussions around Nigeria's economy are being brought to the fore. Suggestions are being raised, and everyone expects that suggestions, recommendations from this gathering should be put forward, of course, to government, and the issue of implementation remains very, very key. And that's what we're looking at today. The issue of tax reforms is really on the front burner because everyone tries to bring up one question or the other with regards to the reforms. And I'm very, very privileged to have walking in to sit now, Mr. Taiwo Edele is here, who is the chairman of the Fiscal Committee on Tax and Fiscal Reforms. Thank you so much, Mr. Edele. It's really good to have you here. Yes. Yes, it's been a while, but I got you here. Thank you. So let me just quickly, because I know you have a lot to chew here. Give us an overview of your presentation. Many Nigerians want to know a lot about these laws, particularly as we count down to January 1st, 2026. A lot of expectations. Just give us an overview.
Yeah, I think first I want to just commend the Nigerian Economic Summit Group for providing the platform, for their consistency over the years, for being that credible platform that you can count on. So to have business leaders in the room, policymakers, is an important opportunity for us to try and further explain the reforms. So essentially my presentation was, one, saying that the tax reforms are not about higher taxes or tax burden. Rather, it's about, number one, reducing business risk from the fiscal side. Number two, providing simplification. And number three, ensuring that we can stimulate growth, which will benefit everybody. Unfortunately, the narrative out there, in some cases, quite different from the facts of what is in the law. So we just encourage more people to pay attention to what is in the law beyond the headlines, so that they are making informed decisions. So I have seen, for example, young people that will say, from January next year, your tax burden will go up. Meanwhile, that's the opposite of what the law will do. From January, if you're a low-income earner, or you're a middle-income earner, up to about 1.8 million naira a month or less, you see your PAYE will drop, which means your take-home pay would increase. When you buy basic consumption like food, you will see the prices are expected to come down. Why? Because the producers of those basic items will get VAT credit that they were not getting before. Whether it's food, whether it's education, whether it's health, you find prices are expected to come down because government is granting a lot of input credit. So small businesses, from next year you have a company and you are making less than 100 million naira a year in turnover, your corporate tax is 0%. You don't have to pay tax and you don't have to charge value-added tax. No withholding tax. We just want you to run your business and grow, so that when you have the capacity to pay, you can then start paying. So for me, I see a lot of excitement about the reform. One major issue that I have seen is that the level of tax knowledge and awareness is quite low in Nigeria. So many people are finding out for the first time what has been in the law since our independence. So they think that, people who do these kind of activities will start paying taxes from next year. No, they have been required to pay tax even before now. So essentially, my advice would be, this is our reform as the Nigerian people, not the federal government reform. Clearly not my committee's reform. It's the reform by Nigerians, for the Nigerian people. We co-created the solution together, and I appeal that we work together to co-execute the implementation.
Many commented that this is not going to be about taxing poverty, and that to me is a very good one too. But what would you do more about awareness? Many pledge to support you. We would also support you, use our platform to support you and talk about this. But what more are you going to do as a committee to strengthen this enlightenment process and everyone gets to understand basics and not just picking the negatives and going social media and letting people carry this?
Unfortunately, negative news tend to travel much faster and wider. And you really can't do anything about that. But what we can do is to intensify our engagement with stakeholders and being honest and consistent in how we speak to them, what we talk to them about, and genuinely be open to feedback from those our important stakeholders. In the coming weeks, coming months, we're planning to roll out a number of initiatives. Some of them for young people to take interest in it. We're not even asking them to promote the reforms. We're just saying share the knowledge based on fact of what is in the new law. We're also having one with journalists where we're going to be awarding journalists for writing and being honest and objective and balanced. We also have one for professionals where we're looking at mobilizing between 3,000 to 5,000 professionals, lawyers, accountants, tax practitioners across the country that we can then train, and then they train others and spread. So it's the power of many. We want to do some of those interactions and engagements in local languages, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, and even Pidgin English. The more the merrier, and I'm so optimistic that the Nigerian spirit and the energy of the Nigerian people and our collective will to move the country forward will make a difference with these reforms.
I must thank you so much, Mr. Tawiri. I know you have another session to catch up with, so let me allow you go for that. Thank you for your time. All right, then, you've heard it from the chairman of the Tax and Fiscal Policy Committee there, Mr. Tawiri Dele. breaking it down and saying it's not all about just taxing poverty. And that's the interesting part of this tax law. Yes, a lot of awareness, enlightenment, education still needs to be done because many Nigerians need to understand what this actually holds for them. So I think that would be ongoing, like he said. In the room, we had pledges, youth group, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Many came up, NESG, the government, everyone is ready to partner with this committee to make sure that they continue to enlighten Nigerians and to understand the positives of this and where there are misconceptions and misunderstandings. I also try to clarify them and make sure that this message is being put out there for everyone to understand. So it's been an interesting one, I must tell you. We still have sessions after now. Some sessions will be looking at health, how it also affects economic development, because everyone will tell you that a healthy environment is a more productive environment. You would agree with me that when you're healthy, you'll be more productive. So if we want to have a productive economy, our health system has to also work perfectly well. I saw the DG of the Primary Health Care Center coming in just recently, just now, a few minutes ago, and he's working also into the hall. I must tell you that the presence of key players in Nigeria's economy at this gathering is also something that is highly commendable. We have the real players here coming to speak, so the issues are being identified and they try to get the solutions immediately, cracking it, hard, and making sure that solutions are being rolled out and Nigerians understand that this is actually for progress. Everyone wants everyone to move forward and achieve inclusive growth, which is what I've been harping on. I've said this times without number, that the aim of all of these reforms is inclusive growth. If the growth is not inclusive, there is no way we can hit the $1 trillion economy or even impact on the masses and everyone. So I saw the Secretary General of the Federation, who was also Prince Adeniran, who also spoke with regards to figures coming from the NBS. Figures from the NBS means a lot to Nigeria's economy, because even investors wait to see what comes up from inflation, GDP, growth expectations, employment figures, unemployment rates, underemployment rates. All of these are figures that investors use to determine where they're going to put their monies, and they have to be very factual because they're not done alone. We have the likes of the World Bank, IMF partnering them, so these figures cannot be worked on or in any way. So we commend them for what they're doing, and I will tell you that international partners here yesterday also talked about this figure, saying they are actually helping to shape Nigeria's economy and determine what investors really want from our country. So a lot is been expected. Everyone expects that the figures will get better as we move on to we're already in the last quarter of the year. They expect that inflation will also continue to dwindle. Monetary policy, fiscal policy will continue to work hand in hand, as we expect implementation of the tax laws, which everyone believes that putting everything together into one basket, there should be that growth, that kind of growth that is expected. Our last GDP figures was about 4.3%, some around that space. It is expected that before the end of the year, some have said that we could grow as much as 5%, and some say we could even hit 6%. So it's a gradual process. But what I will tell you that everyone in this room agree is that journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step, and that step has been taken by President Bola Tinubu, instituting those reforms that's talking about the removal of subsidy and of course liberalization of the foreign exchange market. As of today, exchange rate of the dollar to naira, you would agree with me that the naira is appreciating against the greenback. It's been giving it a serious blow in recent times. And what is responsible for this? Stable external reserves, a stable currency, and a bit of stability even in a larger economy. So we'll stay with all of this from Abuja and be bringing you up to speed, back-to-back interviews with all we're giving you back-to-back interviews with everyone that matters here. So I must thank you so much. Let me hand over to the team in Lagos. As I say, thank you. We're live here in Abuja. We'll keep you up to speed, just like I said. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I'll see you again tomorrow, same time. We'll be talking more business live from Transcorp Hilton here in Abuja, where the